She is a senior standard specialist in Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Tourism. Her presentation title is Electrical Vehicle Standards. Ms. Asma holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from the Bahrain Polytechnic and is a senior standard specialist at MOICT with an experience of more than 6 years in standardization. She started her career in standards department and later progressed to the standards implementation. She's working with standardization exposed her to many new perspectives, most importantly being how standards serve individuals in their daily life and how it improves the economy of Bahrain. In this session, Ms. Asma will present the recently approved technical regulation on electrical vehicles. On to you, Ms. Asma. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ramprasad, for your warm welcome and introduction. And first of all, I'd like to thank the President of Sustainable Energy Authority, Dr. Abdel Hussein Mirza, for organizing and for his patronship for this conference. And it's really my honor, and I'm proud to be able to present the Minister of Industry and Commerce in this conference. I will start sharing my screen for the time being, and please let me know if you could see it.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. Just let me make it, yeah. So as you have mentioned, that I will be introducing the future of electrical vehicles in the Kingdom of Bahrain, more specifically the technical regulation. So moving on to our outline, we'll be discussing about the electrical vehicles in general, which I've already heard and noticed Dr. Majidi has already gone through points that I'll be mentioning. So there will be some that we'll just pass over quickly. And then I'll move on to introducing the Directorate of Testing and Metrology within the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. And moving on to the technical regulation, ministerial order, and then we conclude our presentation, hopefully within the time frame that you have provided us with. So as you already know that the world is changing, new technologies are being developed every day something new is appearing or it's being invented. Most importantly, you could notice like how we're able to meet today here virtually in this virtual world. So if it wasn't for the technology development and for the investments and inventions, we wouldn't be able to have a conference with this pandemic. But thank God that the world is developing and changing. Another evidence is the spaceman, the Tesla electric vehicle that has been launched in space. So who would imagine that an electrical vehicle would be able to launch in space to space? It was launched in 2018. So this furthermore says that electrical vehicles is the future of the world, let us say. Also, as I've mentioned, that Dr. Majidi has already shed some light on the countries that are trying to phase out, let us see, the electrical vehicles, to phase out the conventional vehicles and obligate themselves to clean energy and sustainable energy. Countries like Norway, UK, India, China. So all of these have obligations within the year that is kept up. And then also the automakers, they have obligations. Of course, these are just some examples. So like Mercedes has said that by 2022, they would phase out or they would reduce their conventional cars and start focusing on hybrid and full electrical vehicles, similarly to General Motors, Volvo and Ford. Also something that was shocking to me when I was doing my research and speaking to my colleague. So there was something that we found online is that rumors say that within 4 years, the Apple and Huawei will be manufacturing or launching their first electric vehicles, which we hope will be in the near future. Also, more and more facts and statistics about the era of electrification, as the European Automobile Manufacturers Association has shown that 10% of vehicles are being electrical and 11.9 are hybrid in Europe. And similarly, in Norway, you could see that it's around 75% of the cars that are being purchased and used are hybrid. So I've kept the QR codes if you would like to capture or get the website for it. And moving on, the GSO Fuel Economy Guide for Motor Vehicles as well, like we're moving on to the Gulf region. Within the last 5 years, so the number of hybrid vehicles that have been registered and certified by the Gulf Standardization Organization has increased tremendously, as you can see. Which brings us to like the different types of electrical vehicles that are available. The electrical vehicles, again, I'll always be echoing that Dr. Majidi has already passed through it, so I'll pass through them really quick. So there are the hybrid electric vehicles, the plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, the battery electric vehicles, and the fuel cell electric vehicles. Basically, the main difference, of course, we wouldn't be discussing the conventional vehicles, you already know about it much. So the hybrid electric vehicle use fuel, whereas the plug-in hybrid electric vehicles are charged and use fuel to operate. The battery electric vehicles only electricity, and the fuel electric vehicles use hydrogen as a source of energy. The emissions, if you see from the conventional till the plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, have reduced. So the more developed the car is, so from hybrid to plug-in hybrid electric vehicles is reduced, and we move on to the battery electric vehicles, which has no emissions, and the fuel cell, which has water as an emission for it. These are just some examples of the cars, just to emphasize. So I chose Mazda CX-3 because it's my car. So I know there are many other cars that I could put, but this car is special for me. So moving on. Charging stations, there are 3 types of charging stations. We have the alternating current level 1, alternating current level 2, and the DC fast charge. The main differences is the voltage between these 3. So for AC level 1 and level 2, they use the one phase, yeah, but the voltage is different. And for level 1, it takes around a day or more to charge the car fully, whereas in level 2, it takes less, but it's still maybe 4 hours as minimum, let's say. And the DC fast charge is the fastest of all. It is a 3-phase, and it would take around maybe 20 to 30 minutes to charge the car to 80%. So this is where the manufacturers and the people are heading to. And then again, Dr. Majidi has already shed light on the charging connectors. So basically, like every car that is being developed, its own port is being developed with it. So there is a, I wouldn't say an issue, but there is a stage that the automakers are trying to, but they still didn't reach to, like making a universal port for all these cars to make things easier for the consumer to use. Like we have the AC, we have the DC current, it also differs from an area to an area and to a region. So this is where there is a bit of confusion, or let's say many different new models are being developed. So it would take time to reach to a universal one and all the manufacturers come to an agreement. The types of batteries that are being used in electric vehicles. So we have the lead acid batteries and we have the lithium ion batteries. So basically, you would see that the density or the power of these lithium ion batteries are more, its life cycle is more, its maintenance is better, and it has a higher voltage. to make things a bit clearer. So the lithium batteries are the most popular that are being used for now as they are developed. They are smaller in size than the lead acid. They weight less. They have long life, and their operating temperature range is more, and the battery management system is built in, and so on. So these are basically what we're trying to say is the differences between the lead acid and the lithium batteries, and why manufacturers are leading or are going to the lithium batteries. Facts about EVs. So there are millions of electrical vehicles that are being used on roads, and also they come with high speeds, even more than the conventional cars. They are quieter, of course, because there is no internal combustion engine for them. They are more sustainable. They are kind of environmental friendly. They're easy to maintain. In sense of maintenance, you know that because there is no oil, there is no engine to use oil for, so the cost and the maintenance is very much reduced. Yes, the batteries are much higher, the range is less, but I would say that the advantages would overcome the disadvantages. And most importantly, now we have a frunk, not only a trunk. So because the electric motor is placed in the middle of the car, so now we have a free space in front and at the back, which is normal, like the Tesla that is being offered now. Yeah. So just to make things easier and just to shed light on what is the difference between the conventional and electric vehicle. And this picture just simply says what would happen if there's no technical regulation or if these products weren't regulated properly. So let's say a car is supposed to move 200 kilometers or has a range of 200 kilometers. And to the surprise of the driver, his car would move only to 100 kilometers and it's at 200. So, you know, these things, the certification and conformity really plays an important role for the consumer and for the government entities. Also, if there was no infrastructure, which the technical regulation let's say clarifies, so everyone would have to carry his own charger, his own generator to be able to be able to charge his car, rather than having charging stations at home or for public to be used. So these are the things that led the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, specifically the Testing and Metrology Directorate, to work on this technical regulation. Moreover, to organize the importation of these products and to make sure that they're of utmost quality and that they can be maintained properly. Introduction about electric vehicles and testing and metrology. This is what we'll be covering now. So I'm sure most of you have seen His Excellency, the Minister of Industry, Commerce and Tourism, as well as the Assistant Undersecretary for Domestic and Foreign Trade have come up and published and released in the press that the electric vehicles are being registered, and we are receiving many orders to register and to confirm and certify such products. Not only that, but the Director of Testing and Metrology, along with the head of the Metrology Directorate, also came in a telephonic intervention in Bahrain TV, where they have spoken more about the technical regulation and what to expect and how long it would take, and all these details have been discussed. The main missions of the Testing and Metrology Directorate is to harmonize the national standards with the international standards, not to create any technical barriers to trade, to develop and enforce technical regulations, to improve the productivity, quality, and market access. The vision is to involve standardization and development of the country, to promote the quality and productivity of the national quality and productivity within standardization, and to participate actively in the international standardization organizations. As you can see, we're already members in the International Standardization Organization, the International the IEC, the International Electrotechnical Committee, and the ASTM, and so on, of memberships that you could all find in the Ministry of Industry and Commerce and Tourism website. So moving on to the electric vehicle technical regulation, here's a brief history of how it happened. So on 11th of March 2020, the National Technical Committee for Standards and Metrology, that is chaired by His Excellency the Minister of Industry, Commerce and Tourism, had their 52nd meeting, where they have approved the technical regulation that has already been previously discussed and distributed for study over the automakers, the manufacturers, and local. After that, after the approval of the committee, so the ministerial order was published on 28th of January, Ministerial Order 16 for the year of 2021. And of course, because it is a technical regulation, so by obligation towards the the World Trade Organization, there is a 6-month transition period. So the enforcing of this technical regulation would start from 28th of July, but we already have received, so we're already working on it. The Gulf Standardization Organization system is already registering these cars, and they're certifying these cars. So manufacturers do not wait to 28th of July, but as soon as the technical regulation has been approved, they started sending the requests. So the main purpose of this technical regulation is to state the requirements for approving the electric vehicles in terms of safety, energy efficiency, and performance, to avoid and reduce the probability of accidents and reduce urban air pollution. The scope is, of course, electric vehicles, the electric vehicles charging stations, the electric vehicle workstations. And the technical regulation also states that the maximum allowed energy consumption shall not be more than 300 kilowatts per watt hour per kilometer. And the minimum allowed range is at least 200 kilometers. On your right-hand side, you can see the energy efficiency label for electric vehicles that will be used not only in Bahrain, but over the GCC countries. Briefly about the technical regulation. So the technical regulation covers the electric vehicles requirements, the performance of these vehicles, the workstation, the manufacturer responsibility, the charging and supply equipment, the safety equipment for these workstations, and handling vehicle involved in accidents, the requirements for mechanical storage location. So all these articles are mentioned in the technical regulation that has been recently adopted, and it is provided in both English and Arabic language. Where you can find this technical regulation is in the Bahrain Standard Store. Again, the QR code would take you directly to the website. So the technical regulation has a specific number that is BH1 for 2021. 1 being its number, and 2021 is the year of adoption. And here you would see the steps for being able to purchase these standards. So moving on to the ministerial order. So we covered the technical regulation, and we have the ministerial order.
Sorry, Asma, to interrupt you. Can you please conclude in 5 minutes, please?
Sure. I'm about it. Yes, sure. No worries. So the ministerial order covers the requirements for importation, requirements of importation before, during, and after. You would see that the manufacturer will have to submit conformity certificate, and then the Ministry of Industry and Commerce and Tourism will confirm and verify these certificates that have been given by the Gulf Standardization Organization. And the obligation of the automakers and traders is to have the national energy efficiency label kept in the car on the point of sale, and to commit to the GSO Gulf Standardization Organization recall system. So So a proof or something that was worth sharing with you is that electric vehicles are becoming more and more greener and more efficient. Like for the sono motors, so solar panels have been placed in the car itself that would reduce the fuel consumption, and it would make the car less dependent on the power grid. And home charging stations also um, are being applied or supplied with the EVs, with the EV cells, full of photovoltaic cells, as Tesla says that it stopped taking orders for power walls for the regular power wall without solar panels. And in the end, the Electrify America, that says that as an example of an EV charging station that is fully powered with solar cells. Um, in the end, the earth is what we all have in common. So we need to make sure that that we are trying our best to make it more efficient and more greener, and to work towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. And that's what I have for today. Thank you for listening, and we'll be waiting for your questions at the end of the session. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you, Asma. Thank you, Asma, for taking through the regulations. One thing I like the most in the presentation is the QR code. I think the generation gap between the other speakers and you has been clearly illustrated there. I think
Thank
we
you.
can, if we can